All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the fun stuff. And one of those things is colorful gardens. I think we are seeing a lot of more colorful gardens out there. Not sort of the greens and the whites, but really bright colors. If you're stuck at home, you want it to be cheerful. This year, the pot that you see there is basically the color of the year. And I don't know if you're familiar with this, but each year there's an organization called Pantone that sets what they call a color of the year. And it is a color that they see being trending in fashion, trending in home decor, and those colors of the year really do sneak their way into gardening. Certainly in gardening accessories, but sometimes just in gardening plants. So this container is really a classic blue container, and that was the 2020 color of the year for Pantone. The 2021 color of the year is another blue shade. It's from Aqua. It's called Aqua. So again, you should expect to see more sort of blue and blue-green accessories that you can use in your garden. Now in 2019, the color of the year was something called Living Coral, which is basically the color of the blooms on that begonia. So again, these color trends do translate into gardening. So what are we going to see in terms of plants in 2021 and beyond? Well, you are going to still see a lot of brights, and I wanted to put this photo of the impatiens in there because impatiens are a very colorful plant that we all love, but we haven't really been able to grow them as much, the traditional Wallerena impatiens, because of impatiens downy mildew, which can just knock them out in a minute. There are two new varieties of impatiens that came out in 2020, and they are downy mildew resistant, and they are really nice impatiens. The close-ups are from a series called Imara XDR. This is a red and a violet in that series of impatiens. They are available in a number of garden centers, or there will be next year for sure. The one in the bottom is actually some of impatiens I grew from seed. They're called beacon impatiens. What I love about beacon impatiens is if you like to have a lot of impatiens and you don't mind starting things from seed, you can get the beacon impatiens. They are, I think, a Darwin. Let's see, they're a Burpee brand. So you can get the beacon impatiens as seeds, start them indoors. They start really easily, and they end up looking very pretty in the garden. So expect to see more impatiens, the regular impatiens, in bright colors. Other brights, you're going to see a lot of bright gold. So for instance, this is Sunjoy Gold Pillar Barberry. And gold is just like one of those colors that really stands out in the garden. And so I think you're seeing increasing number of plants that companies are hybridizing that will have those bright gold colors. So that's the Sunjoy Gold Pillar Barberry. And then this is called Golden Jacket Wagella. It's just really bright yellow. And that's an unusual color in the Wagellas. You see them more often in sort of a maroony burgundy tone sometimes. But this bright yellow is now available. And then this, of course, in Coleus, there's all sorts of colors. And you're going to continue to see new bright colors in Coleus, both in darks and in these bright chartreusey colors. This one is called Flamethrower Serrano, and it brings a real gold touch, kind of a chartreusey gold touch to your garden, and great for containers. The last trend I want to talk about, and it kind of goes back to the beginning when we discussed the COVID and people being stuck at home, is this sort of interest in more soulful gardens, or gardens that really reflect your what makes you comfortable, what makes you feel at peace. And we have a very crazy world right now, and the garden is a great place to go to meditate, to think about things, to sometimes escape from some of the noise that's out in the world. And so I see there's much more, I think, emphasis on creating a garden that really reflects your own interests and gives you that sense of comfort and being really truly at home in your garden. So what makes a soulful garden? I mean, it's all the basics of garden design. Having an entrance, having some privacy, having water and pleasant sounds, seating, a place to sit, art or plants that have meaning for you, and something that is welcoming to nature. So this just a few, I'm going to share a few images from various gardens that I thought had a real soul to them. This one was from actually a garden in Utah, where he used tree stumps for a path. It was a beautiful entrance to this section of the garden. And of course, this is a formal garden in St. Paul, where you really are kind of invited to walk around on these lovely brick paths around the different garden beds. I really love this garden, which was in St. Paul again, in the St. Anthony neighborhood. And they had this water feature that ran between the garage and along the side of the house. It was like a little river. So it made this beautiful noise, and it had this wonderful planked walkway between the yard and the house. So you really did feel like you were entering a different space. Of course, the sheds are still big in gardens. The one on the left is a shed that I found in the Duluth garden. It was a beautiful, beautiful shed. Really very nicely done. I think it was one you could be quite comfortable in. The other one was behind a large property in the Minnetonka area, and the lady, it was a big house, and then in the back she had this kind of almost like a carriage house surrounded by a little cottage garden. Definitely the kind of place that would be relaxing and speak to your soul. Of course, you've got to have seating, whether it's a bright chair or something made out of stone. This was a beautiful garden in Minneapolis, a small garden, but they had this lovely stone bench, which was actually not that uncomfortable. You think, oh, I'm going to sit down on stone. No, it was actually pretty comfortable, especially on a hot day. Some places to eat and to sit around and visit with friends from a social distance. You want to put that in your garden. This garden in Rochester, they had a full-on I think they had a little outdoor kitchen to the side, but you could dine here. And they had these curtains that you could pull around, indoor-outdoor curtains, which you could buy, and you could pull those shut if the weather was inclement in some way. And then water. And you know, it doesn't have to be a big water feature. This year I did the world's smallest, simplest water feature. It was just a bowl with a pump and some rocks surrounding the pump so you couldn't see it. It has water in it, but it produces a lovely noise, and it is just so relaxing. So if you don't have water in your garden, think about adding something really simple, or a great big pond like this person has, or a bathtub. This was just a fun water feature, and I think it did have a fountain in it and some plants. It was a lot of fun. And of course, if you've got room for them, add some water plants. Water lilies are beautiful. And then some art that speaks to you, statuary art. It could be Buddha, it could be St. Francis, it could be a bird, it could be something, whatever speaks to you personally, makes the garden just a little more soulful. This person had chess pieces. I think they actually played chess on the garden lawn. And then, or your dog. You can get a little statue of your favorite pooch for your garden. Again, it's whatever speaks to you and whatever, touches your heart. That's what I have for you on garden trends for 2020 and 2021. I I hope this has been helpful or interesting. If you have questions or comments, you can always email me. I'm at mary@maryshear.com. There's my website, mynortherngarden.com. I have a brand new podcast, if you listen to podcasts, called Grow It Minnesota, where I interview garden experts from our climate about everything from native plants, kitchen gardening, how to preserve the harvest. I've got an interview with Steve Poppy from the University of Minnesota coming online shortly about annuals and what are the new annuals to grow. Or you can follow me on Instagram at mynortherngarden_Mary. And then, of course, please consider joining. I know many of you are members of the Hort Society, and you get Northern Gardener magazine. That's what pays the bills around here, so I appreciate it if you would join. So again, thank you very much for accommodating this unusual way of meeting, and I'm hoping that in 2021 we can all be meeting together at plant sales and garden tours and all that lovely stuff. So thank you very much.